They saw the ink and rolled their eyes. A butterfly on a soldier's forearm at a Tier 1 base. Surely a joke, but they didn't know what it meant or where it came from. Not yet. They thought she was just a clerk, just a woman with a pretty face and a ridiculous tattoo until a SEAL commander walked in, caught a glimpse of her arm, and saluted first. The sun beat down on the blistering tarmac at Camp Hawthorne, a U.S. military base stationed deep in the unforgiving sands of Djibouti. Rows of Hums sat, baking in the heat. Marines marched, shouted, sweated. And in the background, walking unnoticed between armored giants, was a woman in tan fatigues with her sleeves rolled high and clipboard in hand. Private First Class Eliza Trent, 28, Logistics Division. The kind of soldier no one looked twice at. Her boots were polished, her reports accurate, her voice soft but direct. She carried no weapon. She was stationed nowhere near combat zones. And aside from one small visible detail, an intricately inked butterfly tattoo just above her right wrist, she was invisible. "She's got a butterfly on her arm," one of the infantry guys muttered. "On the chow line. What's she going to do? Flutter at the enemy?" Laughter followed. Eliza ignored it. As always, she moved through Camp Hawthorne like a ghost, well liked by the supply officers, invisible to the brass, and considered utterly forgettable by the Tier 1 operators who used her department for resupply. SEALs, Green Berets, Delta. They all passed her by without so much as a glance. Until Tuesday, it was supposed to be just another requisition pickup. A blacked-out convoy pulled into base. 6 figures stepped out, all in gear, bearded and scarred and silent. Tier 1 types, the kind of men who spoke with their eyes and made the walls feel smaller when they entered a room. Eliza was standing at the rear supply desk when they approached. The lead SEAL looked her up and down. "You the clerk?" he asked. "I'm the logistics officer of record," she replied without blinking. He smirked. "Didn't ask for your resume. Butterfly." One of the younger operators chuckled. "Man, I've seen more muscle on a Starbucks barista." Still, she handed them the signed-off crate with the serial tag intact. Her posture remained firm. Her expression stayed calm. But then something changed. The last man stepped in. He was older than the others. White hair at the temples, eyes like scorched iron. The stripes on his shoulder were subdued, but his authority wasn't. He froze when he saw her. No, not her. Her tattoo. The room went silent. He straightened, blinked once, then slowly raised his hand in a formal salute. The other SEAL stared. "Sir," one of them asked. But the commander didn't break his gaze, didn't drop his salute. Eliza hesitated just for a moment, then returned it. "Permission to speak freely, he asked, voice low. She nodded. He leaned in and whispered 4 words. No one expected to hear. "You were at Velasquez." Every muscle in the room tightened. The men who had been mocking her now stood still, blinking, the butterfly tattoo on her wrist. It wasn't just a design. It was a symbol. Coded, issued only to members of a top-secret joint operation, known only by code name Velasquez. A mission that went off books 5 years ago and left 23 operatives unaccounted for. Everyone had presumed them dead. Eliza Trent was one of them. How are you?" "Still active?" the younger SEAL asked. This time with no sarcasm. But Eliza didn't answer. She was already walking back toward the warehouse. The commander remained standing, eyes still locked on the corridor she disappeared into. She's not just active, Katie muttered. She's the reason we're alive. The rest of the men didn't laugh anymore. The next morning came like a slap to the face. Emma Steele arrived at Cow at Bureau 500 sharp. Still in standard fatigues. Still carrying the weight of every pair of eyes glued to her back. The jokes hadn't died down, they'd multiplied. Someone had printed a blurry snapshot of her tattoo and taped it up near the mess hall entrance with the word poser scribbled in red marker. A few recruits laughed loud enough to make sure she heard. She didn't flinch, didn't slow, didn't say a word. She walked to the chow line, got her eggs and black coffee, and sat at the very edge of the dining area alone facing the wall. It would have been another day of silence, if not for the two officers who entered 5 minutes later. Lieutenant Sandy Val and Major Rikers, both career soldiers, both known to be particularly unforgiving to anyone who hadn't earned their place. They saw the tattoo photo, snickered. Then Sandy Val said not quietly, "Looks like her tattoo has more clearance than her IQ." A burst of laughter. Emma placed her fork down slowly. Her shoulders relaxed, but her hands didn't move. Rikers approached, tapping the laminated tattoo photo with his index finger. "This you?" he asked loud enough for the whole room to hear. Emma didn't respond. He stepped closer. "You think putting that emblem on your skin makes you a ghost? Makes you one of them? You're wearing history you didn't earn." Still no response. Sandy Val leaned in. "Let me guess. Your boyfriend was a SEAL. You stole it from his jacket while he slept." Emma looked up at him, eyes clear, steady, calm. "No," she said flatly. "But my wore it on his chest. The day we breached a compound in Neurostan. I was third in." Rikers froze. "What did you say?" Emma stood up slowly, her back straight, her tray untouched. "You've had your laugh. Now, let me speak. With someone who knows what that emblem means." Then, for the first time since her arrival, she marched straight down the middle of the mesh hall. Every soldier's fork paused midair. Emma didn't break stride until she reached the door marked operations. She knocked once. A voice inside, rough, direct, called out, "Enter." Colonel Dean Marcus, a man with salt and pepper hair, and a silver seal trident above his heart, looked up from his desk as she stepped in. "Private Steele, sir," she said, requesting permission to clarify my record. He gestured for her to speak. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and laid it on the desk. It was worn, creased, and stamped with multiple security seals. Marcus opened it and froze. The first line read Operation Harroweight redacted. Below it, Operative Code Ember 2 Roll. Tier 1 Designated Marksman Commanding Officer Steer Declan Hoy SEAL Team 6. Marcus blinked. This can't be right." Emma leaned in. "I was attached. Off books under SOCOM's Deep Vector program. I was the last operative out of Kandahar East when the compound was breached." The ink. She pulled back her sleeve to expose the full tattoo. A black star encircled with coordinates. "That's the Ember code. Only 2 of us had it. The others buried in Arlington." Marcus didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stood up, walked around the desk, and saluted. Everyone in the adjacent hallway stopped moving. Through the open door, a few saw it happen. Colonel Marcus, decorated, hard as nails, saluting a private. Emma returned the salute, crisp and exact. Then she turned and exited the office. But the Moment the mess hall saw her again, things changed. Rikers and Sandoval were both silent, standing at attention near the coffee urn like kids caught cheating. One soldier mumbled, "She's Ember, too." Another whispered, "That op was a myth. I thought it was ghost protocol." Emma walked past all of them, past the wall where her photo had been taped. Someone had already torn it down. She didn't say a word, but the silence she left behind was louder than all their laughter. It wasn't just whispers anymore. It was full-on speculation. By noon, the entire base was buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Nobody had ever seen Colonel Marcus salute a private, let alone stand while doing it. And the fact that he hadn't offered an explanation, that made it worse. Emma Steele had returned to her duties at the South checkpoint like nothing had happened. Same boots, same uniform, same expressionless calm behind the wire fence. But to everyone else, she had suddenly become the base's unsolved mystery. And unsolved things don't stay quiet in the military. Major Riker showed up at the commander's office an hour later. "She's bluffing, sir," he said flatly. "Some tattoo and a dusty paper don't make her tier 1. That operation, Harrogate, it's not even in our records." Colonel Marcus didn't look up from the file in front of him. "That's because you don't have the clearance. I'm a major and I'm a SEAL. With 23 years of direct action experience." "Sit down." Rikers hesitated, then obeyed. Marcus tapped the page in front of him. "This isn't a bluff. That emblem on her arm." He flipped the file around. "It's an Ember sigil, black. Class. Her service record isn't stored in your system. It's stored 6 floors below the Pentagon in a vault guarded by 2 Marines and 3 classified encryption protocols." Rikers paused slightly. "That tattoo, I've only seen it once before." "So have I," Marcus said. "On Declan Hoy, the commander who sacrificed himself to save 5 of our men in Nuristan. The day he died, Ember 2 dragged 2 of them out under enemy fire. Guess who that was?" Rikers didn't answer. Colonel Marcus folded the file shut. "You mocked a ghost, Major, and she saluted you." Meanwhile, outside the command chain, Steele became the target of another kind of attention. Curious eyes, hesitant conversations. The same recruits who had laughed now gave her a wide berth. Some tried to offer apologies badly. Others simply avoided eye contact. But Emma wasn't interested in being understood. She wasn't there to make friends. She wasn't there to fit in. She was there to serve quietly, exactly as she had been trained. But that quiet didn't last. Not when General Kavanagh arrived on base the next morning in a Black Hawk. The general didn't even wait for the full welcome committee. He disembarked, made a beeline for Colonel Marcus' office, and within 5 minutes, Emma was summoned. She entered the room, posture perfect, face unreadable. The general studied her for a long moment. "You're Steele?" "Yes, sir." He held up a copy of the Ember clearance paper. "Do you know what this paper means?" "I do." "Then you also know what kind of trouble it brings when it surfaces." She nodded. "I didn't reveal anything. They mocked the tattoo. I didn't explain it until I was cornered." The general sighed in the salute. "That wasn't mine to control." Marcus interjected. "She followed protocol, General. We didn't." The room went silent. Kavanagh finally set the paper down. "Declan Hoy trusted you," he said softly. "He signed your Ember clearance himself. You saved 2 of my men that night, Steele. That makes this personal. She nodded again, saying nothing. The general turned to Marcus. She stays full. Access reinstated and let the base know. One mocks her again. Then he turned back. To Emma. You may not wear a trident, but you were deeper in the black than any of them. Don't ever forget that. I haven't, she said. Good. He exited the room. Without another word. By that afternoon, a silent transformation had rippled across the base. The ember tattoo was no longer a joke. It was a legend walking. But Emma, she still returned to her post. At the southern gate, alone, alert, calm. Same boots, same uniform, same quiet stare toward the horizon. But now, when soldiers passed by, they saluted first. And she, the one they had once laughed at, sometimes didn't even respond because she was never there for recognition. She was there for the moment no one else expected. The moment when the sirens blared and the enemy came through the sky. It was 0420 hours when the first boom shattered the morning stillness. Then came the second, then a third. The entire base jolted awake as the comms crackled to life with fragmented commands. Possible. Breach on the northern side. No visual. Repeat. No visual. Birds in the air. I say again, we have inbound unknowns. Sir, the radar is not picking them up. How the hell? And then the blackout hit. Every light on the eastern grid died in a blink. Security cameras went dark. Perimeter sensors froze mid-scan. And the one place that still had power. Checkpoint Echo, the southernmost gate. Where Emma Steele stood, rifle in hand. She didn't flinch, didn't move a muscle. Instead, she slowly removed her earpiece, now filled with static, and scanned the horizon. Her breath didn't quicken. Her fingers didn't twitch. But her eyes, they narrowed. Far in the distance, something moved. Low, silent. Wrong. 4 black figures leapt from a low hovering chopper and hit the ground. Running, barely leaving a footprint. No call signs, no flags, no lights. Emma flicked the safety off her M4 and tapped to the silent alarm on her belt. The one, only she still had, wired directly to the hardened circuit that bypassed base power. Nothing. The line was dead. That was it then. No backup, no cameras, no command, only her and them. The first intruder reached the outer fence and cut through it like paper. Emma fired once. Sent her mass. He dropped instantly. 3 left. They hesitated just for a moment, just long enough for her to reposition behind the concrete barricade. The second one threw a flash bang. She closed her eyes, turned, and counted 3, then popped up 2 more shots. One target spun sideways. The other went down, crawling, hidden in the leg. The last man bolted for cover. Emma jumped the barricade, moving low and fast. Her movements weren't standard issue infantry. They were surgical, fluid, silent. By the time the final intruder reached the second checkpoint tower, she was already behind him. A single command stopped him in his tracks. On your knees. He turned slowly, raising his weapon. Too late. The shot was muffled, tight, exact. He collapsed. Minutes later, backup finally arrived. APCs rolled in. Soldiers shouting. Confused, disoriented. Colonel Marcus was among the first on foot, sidearm drawn. When they reached checkpoint Echo, they stopped cold. 5 bodies on the ground and 1 woman standing over them, blood on her sleeve, but not hers. Emma looked up as Marcus approached. Report, he barked. They bypassed radar. EMP drone over northern sector. Landed. Here undetected. All neutralized. Alone? She nodded. No time to wait. Marcus looked around at the carnage. You didn't wait. You ended it. Another voice spoke. From behind. General Kavanagh, face pale. That tattoo, he muttered. It wasn't a warning. It was a seal. Word spread like wildfire. 5 black ops. Infiltrators neutralized by one woman. Before the base even fully mobilized. Intel would later confirm they were part of a rogue paramilitary strike team. Testing vulnerabilities on U.S. installations. No one expected resistance, and certainly not at the southern checkpoint. Certainly not from her. In the days that followed, Emma Steele was offered medals. A promotion, a reactivation of her Ember clearance with honors. She refused most of it, but she accepted one thing, to remain right where she was, at the edge of the base, watching, guarding the place everyone forgot until she reminded them why it mattered. And the tattoo. They don't laugh at it anymore. They salute it. Because now when recruits see it as she walks by, they don't whisper, "Poser." They whisper, "That's Steele." And if you ask what the emblem means, they'll tell you it doesn't mark who she was. It marks who's still standing when everyone else is gone. If this story inspired you, let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Silent Ranks for more true legends hiding in plain sight. What do you think was the real reason she was never supposed to be noticed? Drop your theories in the comments.